So here, the recording's now on, and I'm just continue to set up. Yeah, I started. I'm not a South Park watcher. I don't never watch it very much. I found it very juvenile and just like 12-year-old humor. And they had done some things recently that people talk about, like politics type things. So I tuned into the latest season. I gotta admit, I am a 12-year-old at heart, my friend. It was hilarious. I just thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a minister who loves South Park.
That's odd.
So, what can you say?
Yeah, I think the trick is they don't care about anything aside from what would make a 12-year-old laugh, pretty much. So, hang on, that's dang it. I picked the wrong
sometimes
one.
what would make people mad, because making people mad also makes them laugh.
Yes, but they make people mad in the way that a 12-year-old would make people mad.
Yes. You can't take it too seriously because it's too juvenile.
No, yeah, they'll get around. I don't know if there's some drugs involved, but they'll just get around, and maybe there are 12-year-olds. It may be the trick to the whole thing, but yeah, it's not. There's no underlying, this is good, this is bad that I can see, at least for the 3 episodes I watched. Okay, here we go. We got the roundup. God dang.
Are you going to do the intro thing?
Yes. One moment. Roundup. It's technology. Yeah, I picked the wrong. You have to pick a source when you stream, and I picked the wrong one. I need to do this one. And
I will try to STFU while you do it.
Yeah. And I should see me. I do see me. Now I'll hit the start broadcast, and I have to click the post button. Post. I go, it's the roundup, and then we're on. Okay, it's the roundup. Okay. All right. Okay. And I will begin. Okay. Hi there. My name's Daniel Markham, and you're at the Roundup. What is the Roundup? Well, once a week we get together and talk about the latest articles from a standpoint of technology and technology practitioners. No limits, no rules, except for be nice to one another. And we're really interested in how systems of people interact and how computer programming interacts with that, and that kind of gets us into everything else in the universe. Today I've got Mr. Tim Ottinger. Hello, Tim.
Hey there, Daniel. How's it going?
It is. It goes well. It goes without saying.
What's your part of the country? I don't remember where you're resident now.
I'm from the hills of Virginia.
And I'm in the hills of Edinburgh.
It's very similar landscapes, actually. You're the home. You're my home. You're like from the homeland.
That's right. That's right. The Virginians that were Scots-Irish that either arrived in the new land by choice or definitely very much not by choice.
I probably was an Irish indentured servant because they were treated the worst of anybody, as I understand it.
Yeah, and sometimes kidnapped off the streets to be sold into slavery in the New World. So
yeah. Oh yeah, they had a thing going.
Prisoners. You could have been a political prisoner. Maybe your great-great-great-grandfather was a dissenter and didn't agree with the crown. Yeah,
I really wanted to be a Zulu warrior because I just wanted some royalty and some excitement in my DNA lineage, and I found my bio family, and they're nice people, but no Zulu warrior, no Prince Charles, no Genghis Khan. I missed out on everything.
You missed out on the Vikings too?
Oh, wow, I don't know about that. It may have.
You might have some Vikings in there.
Oh, I can do some Vikings. That's a good show, by the way. It's Vikings on Netflix, I believe. Great series.
Yeah, I've not seen it yet.
Okay, so first thing we'll start off with some a little bit more AI LLM coding, and I don't want to take up the whole time because I know you guys probably, not again, but it is an interesting problem I'm trying to solve. And thanks to Tim for helping me drive out who the heck cares. So the reason I'm doing this is I've gone 3 times at trying to get Grok and other LLMs to modify code, fix bugs, add new features. And every time it looks awesome, it feels awesome, it tells me I am awesome, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for any extended period of time. And I was ready to give up. I really was ready to give up, but I thought, 4th time's a charm. And so I'm starting with just a blank console app in .NET And my goal is to get to a project template that has a list of tests, does nothing but a list of tests, and then I can tell Grok, hey Grok, this test is not working. Do not fix it if the other tests are broken. If you break something when you're fixing this, and then we're doing this from a BDD, TDD loop with the AI, and that there's a bunch of lessons here, but the main lesson is there may be no simplest project anymore, and that's really wild. There's so many dependencies involved. I started off with a console app and got it working, but then I wanted to stream data because I have to accept some sort of data. And then it kind of grew from there, and the LLM keeps making what I would call multi-model mistakes. And by that I mean when you're coding something, you have multiple models of what you're doing. So for instance, I was coding a console app, but also wanted to do scripting, and I had this other thing. It's not unusual in your mind to have 3 or 4 models you're working through at various levels of depth. And when you go to change something, as a human, you move between all these models. And for instance, this morning, I spent several hours getting the F# compiler to work correctly, but I had a model established previously of C++ where things would not compile. So I brought that model out from 1990 and fixed the compilation. So that's the type thing, it just doesn't seem to work very well at all.
It is, it's a strange puppy. It really feels productive, except when it really doesn't feel productive at all.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels productive for 8 or 9 prompts in a row, and then you find out that it's been so destructive. So
it would always
with micro commits.
Yeah, it would always do what I asked it to do. And sometimes it would do it better than I could, very well. But the problem is it would do other things not so well, mm-hmm. and it would forget what I asked it to do 10 prompts ago, and all that stuff just ain't going to fly.
Yeah, it doesn't hold on to that. You have to keep reminding it if you have a rules file or anything like that. That's been my primary safety mechanism is I do micro commits. So if I know all the tests are working and it's fine, or I've got the project first set up and there's no code, I save my game. I do a local commit.
Yep.
And then I ask it to do a small thing, and then I test that and review it and do a local commit. And then I keep doing this as we move forward. But I've also put up a couple of safety mechanisms.
Mm.
So one of the safety mechanisms is I had it install the pre-commit hooks that run all the tests before I'm allowed to commit.
And that would be on GitHub, right?
No, it's local.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get local pre-commit hooks. So whenever I type commit, it runs the test first.
Yeah, there's a really easy script for Bash to do that, by the way. I think DHA's came up with that 5 years ago. Cool stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's built into Git. They've got there's a pre-commit, and there's a directory inside of Git for hooks in which there's a pre-commit. So you could write it yourself, but I tend to just ask the LLM to do that.
Mm.
Just create the pre-commit hook for me and have it run all the tests. I also have it run the reformatter and any kind of type checkers. So by the time I say commit, it's got to be right or it can't commit.
Yeah, as I remember, I was going to say that the initial Bash thing we saw, and like I said, I think it was DHS that did this, but it was you run the tests, and only if the tests pass, then you commit and push on to your Git store. And that, if they don't,
okay, this is inside out. This actually connects to the commit. So when you say commit, it automatically runs the tests.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, but
in fact, there's no good way to do it. There is a flag you can say commit this. Don't use the pre-commit hook. That's really obnoxious. Just don't do that. But there's also you can say git run the pre-commit only.
Okay.
So
there, and the beauty of that is you're never allowed to check in any code that's broken, which is wonderful. Yep. Wonderful stuff.
Yeah. With micro commits, whenever you know things are good, and then the pre-commit hook, it's easy to not get into much of a hairball.
Yes. So anybody interested in the project, there's like a bunch of so Cook's Tour, there's one file, okay, and that file is bxblib. And the idea is that if you have any actual code The only place the code goes is in this BXB lib, and that will be the actual stuff you're doing. Right now, I just have it reverse columns line because there's just I wanted some sample functionality, and that's it. So
can you shrink me down a bit, because I'm blocking a lot of the code? I'd like to be about 1/4 the size I am now.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, there you are. Okay. Can you see that?
Much better.
Okay. So you'll notice, just this playing randomly, which I enjoy doing. So I start off with just you run this from the prompt, and it says, hello world, and I did a thing on these previous things where you run it from the prompt and it reverses, and I had some problems, and I had the same problems over and over again because it didn't learn from the first time. So one thing you guys were like, well, why don't you use I guess was that the projects features or the workspace features, or Grok has some sort of here's my code, here's all of it. And I also read somewhere, almost just as an aside, don't get into long conversations with the AI.
Right.
And that was a big tip, big help. And so that made the new goal here was to create a testable set of compilation units, which is just this file basically. And so when I'm done with all this other nonsense, I say, hey, bring up this BXB lib, change your stuff there. And I use BXB because that doesn't seem to resemble anything so far. But yeah, and since then I've been fighting the compiler and different things like that. None of that's important for purposes of our conversation. But it is important to realize that even in this simple environment, things be complex, man. It gets out of control. I mean, for instance, I had there's a IDE helper called Ionide, and Ionide just stopped working. Well, what the heck, dude? And it's like I had to dig in, spend a little bit of time finding the logs and everything. And Ionide basically said, well, you're using .NET 7.0, and I only know .NET 8.0. So I installed .NET 9.0 because that's the latest one. I went to write the program, and it said, no, I cannot run no .NET 9.0 on Unix. You got to run it .NET 7.0. So then I code it in .NET 7.0, and Ina goes, wait a minute, hold up. You got to use .NET 8. Oh my gosh, you guys, So, I mean, that's an example of complexity that doesn't have a dang thing to do with what you're trying to do, but yet it's a grind. That's what it is. It's a grind.
Yeah, you can get into these death loops that run you back and forth, and you just have to recognize them and get out of them once you're in, but it's just tough.
Well, with this
and then how do I ask it, or, and ask it to remember that this will be in 7 from now on. Don't even consider things that aren't available in 7. And then you may have to remind it later.
Well, the guys that were writing Ionide they want to write a tool to be used in the IDE for modern programming. So they're obviously thinking, well, as the library updates, we're going to update our Ionide thing because we want to be modern people. And I, bless their hearts, I get that. But then if there's another piece, which is Linux now, that doesn't update, now I've got compiling in one version of .NET, viewing the IDE in another version of .NET, and the latest version being a third version still. And that's just...
Well, and that is quite a standard too thing, right? Everybody always releases updates on their own platform first, and then eventually we'll get around to the other platforms because, if you're not using their primary platform, what are you even doing?
Yes, exactly. What's wrong with you?
Why would you not be using our platform for doing this?
Yeah, everybody knows you're supposed to do this.
And then why would you be using .NET if you weren't in Windows? So, it's like, because it's a good environment so you can get things done.
I would not advise using .NET in Windows, actually, which is kind of weird, but yeah, I would rather use it somewhere else. I'm using here in Windows because I've got everything installed here. It's convenient, but yeah, I really want this to run anywhere. I don't care about where. One thing I do want, another one of these things that drove me nuts was I wrote this script first, and it's big now, but it used to be just hello world. That's a BXB FSX. That's an F# script file. Beauty that is, it has no dependencies. and you can run it from the command line as long as you include your shebang up here. And it was just a gorgeous thing. I could just type it in, it would say hello world, and it was fine, and I was a happy person. And then I'm like, well, I really need to factor out common stuff, because I don't want a project template that just dumps 1,000 lines of code everywhere. I would rather have that one file with the 10 lines of code for examples, and after that you just put what you wanted. So I included a library file, and it crashed. So then I got the library file working by using this load command here. Load CLI common. Wonderful. And I believe it crashed as well, and I had to do something else, but I got that working. So I finally got it working from the command line. I could just type in BXB, boom, hello world. Woo-hoo. And I'm like, okay, well, since I got this code here that I want you to change, this stuff right here, I don't want to have to call a script file. I mean, it's kind of the whole point. I want to be able to link to this, whether it's in a script file or not. And that's very easily possible. You make a new project file. And I made a project file, and it crashed. So then I made a project file. Then I had all those version issues. And it was one thing after another. And all of the things were, tangential things, maybe, or mutually orthogonal things, like they're related to programming, but they're not really what I was trying to do. So I was able to link in the script files into a project. That was most awesome. Here's my project here. And I can load these script files in here. Wonderful.
Projects and configurations. Oh my.
Yeah, XML. And then at the bottom here, I can just include my DLL file. It's bxb.fs, which will just be, just can you load the things up and say hello world? Because I'll show you BS. Yeah. So yeah, the only code I have now that's in an executable is hello world from BXB. Back to hello world again.
With a series of opens ahead of it.
Yes, because those other 3 files are the FXX files, the script files that I'm trying to factor things out into. And so at this point, actually this code as well should not really do anything, because this is just going to be a LinkedIn file at some point. I don't know if I'll have anything besides hello world. But so yeah, what brings up all the FSX files, puts them together, puts them in the namespace here. It's just wonderful, but it didn't work. So
how did it not work?
I got it work. It's working now. It's butt ugly, but it's working now. When you run a script file, it is a gorgeous thing of beauty. You don't have to compile or nothing. You just type in the script name, and it runs the real-time compiler. It's one of the reasons I want to use this as a starting point, and that's great. But because it doesn't compile, it doesn't tell you if there's any errors either. Okay, so if it fails, it'll tell you there's an error, which is okay, fine. But when you run it, you run the code as a LinkedIn DLL. You got a different dependency tree than when you run it from whatever the default environment is in .NET. And so that really wasn't the hard part of this. The hard part of this is there's no freaking error. This is back to like a monkey poking buttons. Like, oh, this wouldn't work, that's one. And basically they all boil down to, if I'm going to include CLI common here, over here, there, and I want to use this CLI common shared file. Go over CLI common. Okay, here's got an open. It works the same way. You can run it from the command line like everything else. I have to put it in a module. And right now you can see module CLI common. And then I access it using a namespace. This is all great. This is like best practices, goodness, happy, apple pie, baseball. Then I run it just using the module name. But that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work was that, and this makes no freaking sense at all, you have to have initial caps and no other caps. So I had hyphens in my file names. Basically, it takes whatever your file name is. In this case, it's clicommon.fsx. It takes whatever your file name is, and it capitalizes the first letter, and it says, that's your module. if you're using interactive. If you're in calling from .NET, you have to explicitly say, oh yeah, you need to put this as a module here. And so I went ahead and added the module command in. I got the cap, figured out this has to be the first cap, figured out I couldn't have hyphens in the file name. And it is compiling quite well. If you can see here, just to give you some example. So here is the ugliness that I have lived through. I have made this big chunk of code. This is all a pre-compiler. And it says, hey, you know, if you're running an interactive mode, could you tell me like which file you're using? Because I don't know, including a bunch of files, I don't know where you are. And I'll just say hello because I don't know this file. And then this bugger, oh, this is an amazing piece of code. This actually, Grok, I believe, found this for me. This is lines 12 and 13. And this mess of code determines whether or not it's the top level script file, including other files, or it's being included by a script file that's underneath somewhere.
Yeah, we got a thing like that in Python where we have to check the name of the module, and if the module happens to have a specific name, that means it's being run as a script. Otherwise, it is constant, so you know it once you've seen it, but it's still obnoxious. It's why do I have to do that? It seems like it should just be. But anyway, that is the thing.
And the thing is,
they've avoided using a main magic function name by using a double underscore main double underscore magic variable value.
Yes. One of the first things I noticed as a C programmer, I first learned how to program in C, and then I believe I learned some C++. I've got to make sure my head is gone. So yeah, first learned C, then I learned C++. There I am. And I couldn't figure out, I lost my track now. You were just telling me, oh, main, yes. Every dang example had different mains. Like when you're learning, it's int main void, or so I believe that's the original int main void is where you start.
Yeah, and then they changed parameters.
And then it was int main, args or void main or
void main,
args, going on and on. And so now the entire point here, I might remind you, is to have a single point of entry to the stupid program. Now you got everybody everywhere you go got its own main with own stuff going on. And it's like, thank goodness we've standardized this main place as a place to go. This is awesome. If you look,
it is funny. There is every language, of course, is going to have its own evolutionary path and its own choices. And I always say, if you know every single bit of the syntax of your primary programming language, which most people know maybe 15, 20% of their primary language, well, maybe up as much as 40% of their primary language. But if you knew it all, 100%, you don't know the language yet.
No.
Because easily the other 80% is all conventions and magic names and magic words and configuration files. And if you turn this on or that on and knowing, what is the idiomatic way of doing something versus, and without that, you end up writing C in every language.
Well, so I Googled this, like, how do I figure out whether I'm being included by another thing? Because I figure, hey, somebody else got to have it. But first of all, I want to say
that you think.
At the bottom of the top level script, I have a main, which is right here, and it's just main. I guess whatever you return from there, it just throws back to the OS. But so I had to figure out how to do this, and I don't know, Tim, like the first dozen answers I got was, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. This is called the if X then Y problem, where you go into a forum, you say, hey, I'm trying to do X, and they go, no, you really should be doing Y. What you're trying to do is not X at all, it's Y. And it's so, yeah, normally I probably don't want to figure out which file I'm in when I'm programming, because that's kind of dumb. I let the compiler handle that stuff. But this is like kind of the one weird case I would like to know. And it just don't do that. So then I'm like, okay, what if I define a variable, and the variable will come through all the other files, and I can just say, if I got the variables there, we're nested, and then no, you can't overwrite that variable. So, because you can't have the file both be included and be a top level, because if it's included, you've already defined the variable at the top. So I'm like, okay, what if I use a preprocessor macro? And as you see here, F# has preprocessor macros. I do an if here and an end if. And if you, from the C world or a bunch of other different worlds, basically what this tells the system is, while you're compiling this, if this thing is true, do this other thing. But, you know, if it's not true, don't do that. And if anybody's played with C for a long period of time, you can invent the entire universe using the C macro system. people have done it. But so I realized it had macros. Well, cool. I'll just do define nested or something. But it's only got 3 keywords it does. I think it's interactive and a couple other ones. You can't define things. It's like a preprocessor. It's not really a preprocessor. It's this other thing. There's 2 or 3 flags, 2 or 3 things you can do, and nothing else.
Now, if you were writing C modules, you would write all the behavior into some files that would compile into .o or .sl or whatever, SO maybe.
Or H.
And then you would write the part you want to run as a script as a separate file that imports the library and then uses it.
Yes.
It would be an entirely different file.
Yes. And actually, see, this goes back to this multiple model thing. So F# started 20 years ago as a .NET version of OCaml, which is a popular Unix programming language. And everybody's like, hey, you know, if you're academic or want to learn functional programming, it's kind of easy. It's like for dumb people. You go learn over here. But then as they grew, this is to your earlier point, they're like, well, we don't want to be exactly like OCaml. Like, oh my God, no. And so there's like a dozen little things here or there. It works in one spot, but doesn't work in the other spot. And it's like, oh, why have you done this to me?
There's looking. So while we were doing this, I typed on the side just to see what my LLMs said about using F# to be either, operable either way. And it brought up your if interactive.
Yes.
And it brought up a way that uses entry point.
Entry point. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know the entry point.
Yeah. So it's again, I don't know F#, so I don't trust it much.
But yeah, so
there's a marker that you put in. It's open square brackets with angle brackets inside that, and the word entry point.
Oh, see, that's the reverse. That's if you're using regular DLL code inside your script file. Hey, you got a whole different thing that way. That's why.
Not the example it shows here. This showed just having a file with a function in it, and then there's an entry point defined.
Can you post a link to that in your the chat? I'll go there.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. And then they also gave a different conditional, if not library.
Yeah, see, we ain't got no not library. Right? We got 3.
Yeah. And then there was a configuration approach using the fsproj files. They had a couple of those.
That was where we ended up at. But then I had to realize the module renaming system that helps me out so much that I love. Yeah, that's right. Can you post that link?
Let me copy the entry point just so you know what that looks like.
Yeah, copy that link wherever you are, then I'll bring it up in the website, and we'll see what you're talking about.
Okay, let me unmaximize this so I can do it. Ooh, it didn't preserve the formatting. That's ugly. Maybe I should do it as a screen capture.
Well, that works too. You can just paste it into the chat. Works that way too.
Oh, yeah. Do we have a chat that's in our...
Yeah, it's off to the right. Yeah, you go to the top right-hand side of the window, and there should be like a little peoples up there. You click on that and see the chat. Or a little balloon, maybe. Yeah, it's on the screen that has the cams. And it is in the upper right-hand corner. I think there's a bubble, maybe. It's one of those little icons up there. I've got a 2 with little people. That shows how many people are here.
I don't have it.
Yeah,
it's not in mine. Maybe that's a... Oh, wait. I see. Okay. It's in a different screen. Oh. And it doesn't work. I can only send an invitation that way.
Okay, so you're here here we are with Tim in my chat. Here's my chat window. And I'll close the chat right now. Here's us talking, blah, blah, blah. I just have you showing up. I don't have me. But when I'm in here in this screen, there's a little bubble right up there.
Mine doesn't have it.
You're not allowed to talk to people. You've been cut off from chatting, Tim.
Yeah. Well, I have pasted it into our
Yeah, you can stick it in
Roundup
general.
group.
Yeah, that'll work fine.
And I put it in there once without formatting and then once as a screen capture so you can see what it actually looks like on my screen. Yeah, I see it there at the bottom on the right. Yeah, it was there. Oh, it was there a minute ago.
Okay, here we go. Ah,
There you go.
okay. Yeah. So this is an FS file. So this is F# source code to be run and compiled.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who are really nerdy, it actually used to compile this all to C#, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so a .fs file means, hey, I'm compiling this into some linkable, executable thing to go somewhere else. You cannot run this from the command line. I have a .fsx file, which is like, hey, I can just type it in no matter where I am. If you've got .NET installed, it'll run, which is where I wanted to start with this, because that would be the simplest way to say hi. Yeah, very nice. You follow what I said? So yeah, the FS file, which is what we have over there, they did you one with the main and the entry point and all that. All I did was put hello world.
Yeah.
But I could put the main there and then I could run it as executable. But right now, that's optional for me. So I want to be in a spot where you just write functions and then you pick where you want them to go, either a script or DLL or an executable. That really should not impact your business decision at all. God dang it. I keep saying it, and it should, because it's a very easy thing to do unless you're trying to like factor everything out, which gets a little messy. But yeah, you should be able to just come into that BXB lib thing and type in those few you want there, and Bob's your uncle. Should be fine. But yeah, so I wanted to say, so the rate, so after thrashing with all sorts of, and you're hacking, you reach a spot where you're like, I know I'm just poking at stuff. I mean, I'm okay with it. Okay, I mean, we've all been to like dive bars. We've done things we're not proud of. Okay, but what they did here with this god awful stuff, and I didn't read all of it, understand it, because I don't care. But basically, it sort of looks like they call a stack trace on the compiler. And then they see, hey, do you already have a main defined? Well, if you do, this must be somewhere else then. That's it. That's the thing. So if the compiler's running through a bunch of script files, it's keeping a stack of which files it's doing because it's a compiler. So you can just say, hey, show me your stack. And if you don't have a main yet, well, then, okay, it must be from somewhere else. It's one of the most butt ugly things I've seen in quite a while. It's so ugly. It's like one of those ugly dog contests. It's so ugly, it's kind of nice looking. But yeah, we ran into problems whenever the models cross. You can find a good spot, like if you go to look for help, like you just did, Tim, and you find help that looks helpful but doesn't help. Well, AI is going to do the same thing, right? Because it's just narrowing down scope and trying to find answers. It is not saying I need to do this, and the other thing at the same time and balancing those models out. That's
the important thing to remember about the LLMs is they don't know what they're doing.
Not at all. There's nothing there.
They don't. They that's not what they do. They're not that kind of intelligence. They are pattern matchers at best.
Much so. Which doesn't mean it can't be useful. Like I said, it finally was the one that gave me this interactive thing, which, again, quite ugly, but it worked. And I'm okay with 4 lines of, I'm okay with 4 lines of ugliness if that's going to work. I mean, I'd like to get rid of it at some point, but it works. It's not something that should ever get in the way of my business logic, so really, I'll leave it for now. It's fine. But where I'm at right now I have 2 files. I'm making a file which is BXB, and I'm making a test file which is BXB test, because once we reach our magic state of nirvana, I want to have an executable that tests the thing, right? So I want a list of tests for this program that I know that this program works correctly. But I also want an executable that tests this program so that I can share that with other people. And they go, okay, well, here's my contract. If it doesn't work like this, it's not going to work. But where I am right now is I got the first BXB working. I've not started on BXB tests yet. But what happened is I had to go in and add in CLI common.log. I had to rename the namespace. Now, if you know anything about namespaces, the whole reason you open the dang namespace is so you don't do that. But I had to do it anyway, and I don't know why. I've got like 2 opens here. I'm just like, maybe if I type open the same over and over again, maybe it'll finally listen to me. But so you've kind of lost it.
I think we talked about this once before about Bill and Ted's homework. Did we talk about that?
A bit.
Yeah. If, when it's like, I don't want to understand that. I don't want to know that. I just want it to work. I think we're at that point doing Bill and Ted's homework.
Yes, that's that. And that's why I actually went ahead and scoped it all out, went through, because it's not worth understanding. Maybe at some point I'll have a boring day or whatever. Yeah, I'll go back and figure. It's not critical path. It's just understanding why it looks going to have to make it look weird. And at some point you got to fish or cut bait. It's like, okay, fine, just take that and we'll go with what we're doing. It's painful. I hate doing it.
I'm trying to be good about what I need to learn and what I don't need to learn, because when the fact that I don't understand causes me trouble, I probably needed to learn that.
Yeah, and that's another reason for starting with the Greenfield project, whatever your language is. Because if you want to use AI and you want to use as your language or platform to do it with AI, you really need to teach yourself all the things that get in your way of making the thing work to begin with. And maybe there's a lot of people that can code but can't program. They can't actually, they can write code, they know what it says, but you couldn't get them to write a web app or nothing. They do nothing about actually coding.
Well, I have a friend who works at a Silicon Valley company, and he does a lot of interviewing, and he said you'd be surprised how many people can't figure out how to do FizzBuzz. I mean, even the most rudimentary 3 if statement version, they can't do it. It's not that they're trying to be fancy and they get lost. They simply can't do it at all.
They just can't.
But they've applied for the job.
And they may have
be a lot more of that with AI support, because people are going to think, I don't really need to know how to program. I'm going to be a good prompter. Look, I had to make 3 apps for me and they all ran on my machine once. And therefore, I don't really need to know how to program. I just need to know how to prompt.
In the AI, I think we were talking online about this. It's like giving people candy. It's exactly the opposite way from where you should be going. Like you just said, if you don't know what's going on, you need to go learn what's going on. It's not about preprocessor macros or F-star. It's like, I can't write this program to work just doing nothing. And that's a skill set I need no matter what I'm doing. That's not it's not right. Sure, Daniel's down in the weeds on this stuff, but I'm down in the weeds because I'm trying to figure out, how to get the dang lawnmower working. I'm not down in the weeds because I like weeds.
Yeah. I think that ultimately the LLMs are a great gamification in that it's a gambling addiction, right? Because when it all comes up, 3 matching fruit and it dumps all the coins out in your lap, you remember that. That's really exciting.
Yes. When I get that one nested thing, I found out the answer. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
And, you might get 2 or 3 little jackpots in a row.
Yes.
And you convince yourself you're 20 times more productive. And then you spend the next 4 hours trying to untangle some death loop and trying to get it to do a thing that it doesn't understand. And maybe I'm just using the wrong words. Maybe I'm not using the thing right. Maybe I need to tell it as an expert.
I ask in a different way yet. Please, could you please do that?
Yeah. How do I coax it into trying to do the thing I want? And maybe after 2 hours, you'll stop and do it yourself in 10 minutes.
Yes.
So you feel like you're being productive because sometimes it really seems like it's paying off.
So
even if it doesn't show up in delivery time.
Because you're used to it's sucking naturally. That's but it was that one awesome time when I went to do this start fresh again. I thought to myself, okay, well, Daniel, you should know how to program. And you banged your head against the wall 3 other times, okay? And 3 other times I'd ask it the magic prompt and it would do what I asked. And eventually, like you said, we get in some sort of dark zone where it's doing what I asked, but not really actually coding. So I went back, I said, I'll just pull the pieces out of the other projects and paste them in here. It's like every one of them use a different metaphor for stuff. It's like, yeah. They were running okay, but it's like, I, as a programmer, want to do things, I call them architectural conceits, and you call them different things you want to, but there's a pattern of good coding that I want to stick to, so because I'm a dummy, it helps me later on. And I don't want, like, this to be one way and this to be another way, and this to be a third way. And AI has this doesn't register at all for it.
It's sort of like when you go from the U.S. to someplace in Europe, and you're expecting the language to be different words and slightly different grammar. And when you get there, you find out they put mayonnaise on their French fries, and you're like, "What?
Yeah,
Wait, that's not the same thing. That's not just a language. There's a cultural difference." And every programming language has a cultural difference. They're all foreign countries. They do different things.
You should not be eating the stomach of animals stuffed full of stuff. I'm just saying, okay?
And there's a certain element of becoming culturally fluid with languages in being a polyglot. It's easy to say I shouldn't have to, but then I can't find a basis for that should.
Have you ever had, what is that thing in Australia? That was the Marmite or the...
Marmite?
Yes.
Vegemite. It's Marmite up here where I live, but over in Australia, they like Vegemite instead of Marmite.
Yeah, it should be
and
called...
there's wars fought over that. And you know what? I don't know the difference between them.
It's beer jelly. That's I finally somebody explained it's just beer jelly. And I can eat it, but it just does not seem to taste the way I would expect something on my biscuit to taste. It's got a unique flavor to it.
Yeah. And again, that's, you don't have the nostalgia for it because you didn't have it as a child. You didn't eat it because mom and dad gave it to you. You just tried it as an adult because you heard it was popular. Yeah, for God knows what reason.
Yeah. They drank too much. Let's be honest. I'm sorry. No, but no, you bring up a good point. And I'm not trying to be culturally insensitive, but I do want to continue what you said because I'm making an agreement with you. Learning cultures and learning art are kind of similar to one another. Somebody said, suppose that you were, from some foreign country, Japan, Korea, I don't know, and you're coming to America for the first time, and your friend says, "Hey, I want to take you to a baseball game." And you go, "Oh, cool, a baseball game." So you go to this really strange, huge, like stadium day, thousands and thousands of other people, and these guys just kind of, they got a stick and they hit a ball, and everybody's just going crazy, and they're sad and happy, and you got none of that. You have no context. It's like, it's just the weirdest thing you guys do here. And so you have to bring, I guess part of learning good art, fine art, part of learning good culture is to bring that context to whatever you experience. Otherwise, you don't get it at all. It's not that you're stupid. It's that you don't even understand what the question is.
Yes. Yeah, you don't know what words to use to ask the question now.
Yes.
Because the figures of speech are different.
Yes. And if it's going to use different models and different parts of my code, then I'll just say it right now. There's no freaking way LLMs are ever going to write an entire app. That's not happening. I think I would trust it. And see, this is why I am here. I'm here because I think I would trust it to write a pure functional piece of code that does blah, blah, blah. Like we did with the, is it nested or not? It's a few lines of code, not related to my business problem, gives me a yes or no, I'm good. And it's testable. I mean, that's what, but if I start doing things with LLMs that involve other pieces of the code, what it was doing was, and I think what you just did was, it was going out and finding similar enough answers that kind of look like it might be right. But hell, I can do that. I'm just as bad as doing it as it is. And I learn while I do it. It doesn't learn anything.
It was suggested that it used to be programmers used to have to go find code samples and copy paste to write a program, and now LLMs copy paste for you.
Yes, that's exactly right. Sorry. And
which isn't wrong. I mean, it's a little better than that because it is pattern matching and swapping variables. But I've had to do so many bizarre things. I asked it to run. I had some tests. I had 4 different implementations of the same algorithm, and it's not a very interesting algorithm. Okay, but I did create 4 of them for a reason. It's for presentations that I want to teach about code quality. And I said, okay, I want to run these tests, but I want to be able to choose which implementation I run against and run it against that implementation.
Okay.
And it wrote, I don't know, 500-600 line function in Bash.
Wow. Oh my
and
God.
it would,
wow.
It was copying files and generating files by echoing code to a Python.py file that would then shim the test to do the, and eventually I said, no. I just want to pass the argument to PyTest. Why can't PyTest just import which one it wants?
Yeah.
We'll standardize the interface across them so it can call generate whatever, on each one of these. And then we just, oh, that's brilliant. That would be much easier.
You're brilliant too. That's great.
I get 5 lines of configuration instead of 500 lines of code in Bash to generate Python files and copy files to different names in order to, it was just nuts before. It was a Rube Goldberg machine.
So I want
in Bash.
I'm going to plug my own stuff since I don't sell it, so I'm not really plugging it. But I did something called code budgets years ago, and a code budget basically is you should give yourself a limit for how many lines of code you're willing to write in any environment before you're like, it looks like it works. And for me, like Bash is about 50, maybe 60. Certainly not thousands of lines of code. Used to be Bash was like 3 lines, but I've gotten better at it. It'd be different for different people. But you need some way of saying to yourself, it works, but it doesn't feel right. Like a king class. Like, yeah, the king class works, but it's just something about it. It does too much. It's too much in there for me to completely understand.
Yeah. Brian Merrick used to talk about the internal metacritic. You have to engage the internal metacritic. So something while you're doing the work has to be noticing, this is not as easy as it seems like it ought to be. It seems like this is taking more effort than I had planned on, that maybe this isn't exactly what I was shooting for. And if you don't have one, then obviously a pair programmer is a good external metacritic.
Yes. I plug number 2, code cross-checking. And cross-checking, the idea of cross-checking is before you start a project, this really only works greenfield. Play code golf. I don't care. Don't give it to anybody. What is the simplest amount of code you can put in to solve the problem you're solving? And if the answer is like 5 lines of really complex code that I typed up in 20 minutes, okay, well, that sucks, but it's 5 lines. It took 20 minutes. If you're 2 months in trying to do the same thing in blah, blah, blah language and platform, in your head now, it's 20 minutes of 5 lines. Now you know. Otherwise, it seems like your point earlier about the Las Vegas thing, seems like we get lost in the dopamine hit we get from doing different things programming, and we lose track of, this is why I'm here. Oh, okay, I should be actually thinking about the problem here. Too easy.
In gaming, I think they call that uneven rewards. And it's just so exciting when it does pay off that you just keep going for the payoff and keep going for the payoff. You lose track of time. You lose track of your budget. You lose track of the money you've already put into it. You don't realize that you're now down $500. I guess some people do that. I would never do that. I don't like gambling. I did try a nickel slot machine, and I found it to be the most boring thing in the world. But some people will play slots all day. They're so excited by it. And I played poker, but I didn't like it. I played blackjack, didn't care for it. I just don't like games. I tried fun, didn't like it.
You tried fun?
And same with video games. With these video games where it's like, you have to keep Mario jumping up and down because there might be an invisible box over his head. I think that's just absolutely inane and boring and obnoxious and even irritating. So I'm not any fun, and I'm no good at parties. But I do recognize that uneven rewards for some people are super addictive. Mm-hmm. And the idea that sometimes, it keeps people in bad relationships. Well, he's abusive, but sometimes he's really nice.
Yeah. yeah. I beat the crap out of me last night, but somehow he was really sorry about it.
Yeah, sometimes he's so sweet, she says. So it's the uneven rewards people find addictive.
I love that Metacritic idea. And along with that Metacritic idea is it gets back to the depth of model things. Like, we don't have conversations about models in depth of programming, like solution models, right? Instead, we talk about language features, or we'll talk about practices like TDD or BDD. And these are good things, don't get me wrong, but the real rubber hits the road when you're in a mob programming session and somebody goes, well, of course you're going to check that in with this sort of commit message. And you're like, well, no, we don't ever. And now you're having a discussion about 12 levels down from your business problem that you never would have had you been to your cubes and doing this differently.
Yep.
And pair programming helps with that as well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And, I think a lot of people in the world lack an internal Metacritic. I don't think it's a part of most people's behavior or mental makeup, because people just don't notice that what they're doing keeps not working and it keeps being awful. So what a system does is what it for. How's that go? What's the acronym?
GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. I was just going to ask, you play music, don't you? You played for music.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned the piano. But it is, learning the piano took 12 years. And I mean, I think probably the two things I learned from taking the piano lessons the most was you keep working at stuff that sucks, number one. And number two is you always suck. So, I mean, if you reach the point where you're awesome, you're not doing it the right way.
That's a Joe Walsh thing too. He says, when you first start playing, you got to get in front of people, because you get up and you start playing and it's awful. But then later it kind of elevates the awfulness and people start to like it.
Yes. Yeah. You're not wrong. I know that when I played in church growing up as a child, and it was a different type of performing than maybe doing a music competition or using some classical music. And then now that I'm adult and I play really bad, really, really, really bad, I basically use the keyboard to sing to myself. I don't care about timing. I like the melody. I may change up the timing the way I want to. And it's very pleasing to me, but it's not anything I would ever show anybody. It's just me having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, if you play to sing, it's typical that you ignore, for the most part, rhythm, because you're playing so that you can sing. So you're following your singing with your playing.
Yes.
Whereas if you were in a group, you'd be staying with the drummer and staying with the beat and making sure that it's,
And when I did the church music, it would boom, boom, because they couldn't keep time for the life. You just had to be a rigid time for playing for a congregation, right? People not trained. Because if you didn't keep a rigid time, they weren't going to keep it for you, right? And they wouldn't be able to figure out what you're going to do here or there. And it's just a mess.
Yeah. And with a different kind of crowd, God help you if they start clapping, because they will always clap the 1 and the 3. I don't know why, but they never do 2 and 4 like you're supposed to. They just don't understand, and you just have to let it happen. But yeah, there's a different way. So there was POSIWID is the acronym. The purpose of a system is what it does. So if you have a system that, you guys all work really, really hard and you put out overtime, but you can only deliver software every 7 months, that's what your system is for. That's the purpose of the system now.
That is, yes, amazing piece of insight. It's like, I'll say this differently. You either have 2 feedback loops. You have an external test that you pass or not, which may be a TDD, BDD, or you have what people think about what you're doing. And if you don't have external tests, then basically it's, hey, we spent 6 months, but wasn't it really worth it? Because we got that flaming text on the webpage, and everybody goes, yeah, it's worth it. And so you're doing, like you said, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's what the system produces. That's what the system is. And if the system periodically, crushes a puppy to death, then it's a puppy crushing system. That's what it's for.
And we have to break some eggs to make an omelet. I mean, some puppies must die.
If you were worried about that, if that wasn't the system you wanted, you would change it so it doesn't crush puppies.
You need some way. For music, you need to, if you want to play classical music, listen to classical music. You want to play country, listen to country. This cross-checking, you need some way of reminding yourself, oh, golly, maybe I'm spending too much time with this scoping thing over here in a stupid program. I just put the scope stuff in the code, and I can move on to something else. And that doesn't come naturally. I think you just said it doesn't really come to a lot of people.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't have that. And the sense that this is harder than it ought to be should be like it should make a bell go off in your head that tells you there's something else to learn. And, heck, okay, if you're going to be playing with LLMs, Can I look at this hard thing and then highlight it and say, hey, LLM, what's the easy way to do this? What's a better way to do what it's already doing? Or my favorite, show me N ways to do this. So sometimes I'll have an algorithm.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll basically like it, but I don't like it. And I feel like it's just, so I just say, show me 12 ways or 9 ways to do this. I just pick a number and it produces different artifacts. And I look at those all and it's like, here's what I was missing. This is actually easier to do in this direction. So I write it the way I like it. But until then, I just knew I was writing it the way I didn't like it.
It's weird because there's a way to think about LLMs as sort of an acceptance test slot machine. So you give it what you want, it gives you something you think is what you want, and you're happy. And if I want to draw a picture of a boy holding a dog, look at the picture, I'm fine. And it just doesn't scale to programming. It does not scale to logical systems. Works great on other stuff.
Or only works in small elements. Again, like if you highlight a piece of code, it can look at that and it has patterns for that same kind of thing being done. It doesn't always get it when you ask a question. If you show it an example, then a lot of times you say, oh, well, you could do it this way or that way. So I did it just today. So I watched their video, nice guy, and his video was doing a expense report kata in Python. And at one point, he's like, well, I can't test this because it uses standard out.
What?
And I went, that's not true.
That's not true
I
at
didn't
all.
interrupt the whole thing. So I just for fun, I said, okay, I have a function that prints the standard out using in Python. It's a print command, a print statement. It's a function call, basic looks like. And I said, I want to change them all to where it has print this thing, comma, file equals whatever my parameter is. I want to pass a parameter and print to that one. And what's the easiest way to make this switch? And it came up with this search and replace nonsense that, it's iffy. It probably would eventually work. You'd have to just be real careful, and what have you. And it's like, no, that's not the right way. And so I said, well, what if instead I write inside my function, I write a print function that will override the global print. And I'll pass a parameter and I'll use it in that print function. And then when I inline it, it'll disappear and they'll be passing the extra parameter to the actual system print statement.
Okay.
Oh, you're exactly right. What a brilliant idea. And I said, okay, how else could I do that? And this time, given an example and how else can I do that, it came up with some very valid ways that I will use when I'm working in legacy code.
I've got the LLM to give me some awesome pieces of code that I'm like, I would not have gotten that on my own. It's just like, oh, wow.
I think it needs the example of what not to do, and then it can figure out from there, even if it generated the first bad example.
So this whole project basically for me boils down to this one function. This is a Bixby lib 59 and 60 process app data test line. Okay, so send it a line of stuff, send it whatever delimiter for that line, and it sends you, it'll reverse, in this case it reverses the columns, but it'll do whatever you want to do here. That's line 60. So my theory here right now so far is that no matter where we end up with this project, I got a line of stuff. Go do your thing with this line of stuff.
And everything else is cruft.
Yeah, everything else is bullshit. It has nothing to do with what OS you're on or whether you're calling me or I'm calling you or whatever. And so I have like a goal that I know is either going to work or not. And this is why I wasn't going to do this, because if you don't have that goal, you're just having fun. And I like having fun, but kind of like you, I can only code so much before I'm like, oh, gee. So there we go. That's a good thing we did not take the entire hour talking. So Tim, have you been reading any good books or watching any good TV lately?
I've been catching up on the new season of Wednesday, and I still have to watch the rest of The Residents because I've somehow or other forgotten that I was watching it. Hey, I got busy, cooking, smoking meats and stuff, and we kind of forgot what we were about.
Did you
that and immigration things?
Did you like the second season of Wednesday?
Not as much as the first. I'm ready to be done with hides and one of your family must die things.
Mm.
So I like them to do something different with it. But yeah, the acting's, fun. And I kind of like the new Invisible Girl. I thought she was funny.
So I'm taken to like Googling things when I'm going to mention them, that way I can actually remember what the title is. I've been watching The Night of, which is a like 8-part miniseries. It's good. I've got 1 or 2 more to go. It basically, guy has a interesting night with meeting a new girl. A new girl turns up dead. And so we're all trying to figure out, did he do it? And the rest of the show is like, did he do it or not? And he froze again.
Well, I still hear you.
Yes.
Even if I'm only looking at your hat.
Well, it's a good hat.
It is a good hat.
Got it in Australia.
It is auto approved.
Auto approved, yes. I used to have a drover's hat that was a softer hat, and I love that hat. I don't know what happened to it. So that's been it for me. Let me go ahead and close this down. Is that okay?
All right.
Okay, here we go. So go here. Go. Here's the streaming. And see you Twitter as later. And I froze again. Why am I freezing so much? What am I doing? Very strange. Very strange.
Computers are so much fun.
Yeah. It's a USB. Yeah. This is setup number 57. And basically it is taking my nice camera, and I've got a USB HDMI capture device. And it seems to work fine, except for when it stops working, and then it doesn't work.
Yeah, but 40% of the time it works every time.
Every time, and that makes it worthwhile. Yeah,
And even rewards.
I tell you, if you're interested, little sidebar, I bought a little video web server, like I don't know, it's like $80 or something. And so you just take whatever camera you have, send HDMI to it, and it's like its own thing on the internet. People will come in and stream stuff off of it if they want. You can set up your password and everything. Very cheap, and it was super cool. And it worked. It worked better than this USB thing, but the problem was it took 2 seconds to decode the video.
Oh.
So when I was doing this OBS thing, my camera was always 2 seconds behind everybody else. And that did not work.
No.
All right, my friend.
Well, I'll let you close this thing down. I'll be quiet.
All right. Okay, that's it. Oh, I can do the goodbye. Stop streaming. There we go. Still recording. And back here. But the duck is here. I am not here, but the duck is here. So click on the duck. Thanks for dropping by. My name is Daniel Markham. I am able to be very still. And I learned this early in life. Come by, drop us a link. If you want to talk about something, we're happy to talk about it. Okay, my friend. I don't know why I keep freezing, but yeah, we got through there. There must be some technology mistakes. We won't have a Roundup without some kind of crap happening.
Yeah. There's what was it? Is unappreciated. There you go. Here's a Jimmy Carr update for you. This one of his lines. Here's something about boredom. And people are talking about being bored. He says he doesn't mind being bored. He's really never really bored anyway. They said, well, airports and all this kind of stuff. He says, no, he says, boredom, when you think about it, is just unappreciated serenity.
I like that. That's pretty good. I also belong to the boredom advice column. If you're on a date, I don't date, of course, being married, but if you're on a date with somebody that you haven't met before and it's boring, always just say, this is boring, because it will not be boring anymore. Just say it. It will stop being boring. And if they're boring, you're not going to date them again anyway, so just say, you're really boring.
If they agree with you, you might go do something fun.
You might actually do something fun out of the whole thing. Exactly.
And if they take it personally, you're going to have a great argument.
Yeah, I know. If nothing else, you'll say, well, I had a really good argument about what was fun.
And you get to go home sooner.
All right. Talk to you later, Tim.
Goodbye. Bye.
And there you go. Bada boom, bada bing. Have a good one. And I'm frozen again.